The first unit of governmental accounting and auditing, not surprisingly, is an introduction to the subject matter. Among the things that are important to make sure you understand after reading the textbook and reading the PowerPoint slides prepared by the textbook authors are who the standard setters are and who they set standards for, the GASB, FASB, and FASAB, looking at what types of entities each of them is setting standards for, and also the areas of overlap between the GASB and the FASB. That is, they both set standards for similar entities like colleges and universities or hospitals, public power, not public power, but power utilities, airports, casinos. But for some of those entities, they're governmental in nature, and so they follow GASB standards, but the other ones are either not-for-profits or private sector entities, and they follow FASB standards. So one of the things you also want to make sure you come out of this unit with is an understanding of what constitutes a government, what distinguishes a government from a non-governmental entity. There's a reason why there are 3 separate standard setters for these different types of entities, and so you should understand what the objectives of financial reporting are for governments versus not-for-profits, for state and local governments versus the federal government. Some of that has to do with the environment that they operate in. For state and local governments, the focus on the annual budget and the fact that it is in fact a legal document that the governments have to operate within, requires some forms of reporting that other types of entities wouldn't have to do. The power to tax comes with a certain amount of accountability that governments have to their citizens and taxpayers because they can impose these taxes and collect them, and the taxpayers really don't have any choice in the matter. And that issue of accountability is very, very important for state and local governments. And as you will read and hear several times, from the GASB's perspective, conceptually, accountability is the cornerstone of financial reporting, and all the other objectives of financial reporting by state and local governments stem initially from the concept of accountability. There's also different types of people who use the information of different types of entities, and so the reporting requirements for governments versus not-for-profits differ in part because those financial reports that are prepared by governments are meant to serve a different set of financial information users than the reports of not-for-profits or the reports of corporations. As I alluded to before, you should understand what distinguishes a government from a not-for-profit or another type of entity, what the objectives of financial reporting are for state and local governments, the federal government and its agencies, and then for not-for-profits. And then lastly, the chapter gets into sort of a very brief overview of financial reporting by state and local governments, identifying the different types of financial statements and their purposes. So we're really not getting into the detail here, but overall, what is the what are you going to find in a government's financial report, and what is the nature of those items that you find there? At this point, that's the level of understanding you need to have. There's a particular report called a Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, or CAFR, that some state and local governments prepare. I'd say there are 90,000 governments, state and local governments in the U.S. No one really knows for certain how many follow generally accepted accounting principles, but what we do know is there's approximately 5,000 or so that prepare this much more extensive document than is minimally required under generally accepted accounting principles. This CAFR is held up somewhat as a paragon of financial reporting by state and local governments, And there are certificate programs that certain professional associations operate to recognize governments that prepare this full CAFR. And the chapter identifies the pieces of information that appear in the CAFR that are beyond the basic financial statements, notes, and required supplementary information that is necessary in order to receive a clean audit opinion. There is a review of federal financial reporting in there as well that you need to make sure you understand, as well as the contents of a not-for-profit financial report.